All right, welcome. Today, we are going to crack open a single but really important question from the National Professional Practice Examination. You know it as the NPPE. And we're not just here to find the right answer. Nope. We're going to deconstruct the entire question. By the time we're done here, you're going to get the core concept, the strategy, and really the professional mindset you need to absolutely ace this exam. So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the question itself. Then, we're going to dig into the main idea it's testing. After that, we'll zero in on why the correct answer is correct. And just as important, we'll learn how to spot the traps in the wrong answers. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with some key terms and a solid method you can apply to any question on the NPPE. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's set the stage with our challenge question for today. This is such a classic example of what you're going to see on the NPPE. You know, it's designed to test not just what you've memorized, but how you actually think like a professional. All right, here's the question. Within the framework of regulations established by the majority of provincial engineering regulatory bodies, why is ongoing engagement in continuing professional development, CPD, considered mandatory for licensed engineers? And you've got your four options, A, B, C, and D. Now, listen, a couple of key phrases should jump out at you here. Mandatory and regulatory bodies. This question is really digging for the fundamental why behind this whole requirement. Okay, so before we even think about touching those options, let's get to the heart of what's being tested here. This isn't just a random question, right? It sits right where two huge NPEP topics meet, professional ethics and engineering law. The exam isn't looking for a textbook definition. It's checking if you truly grasp one of the most fundamental obligations a professional has. So what is the deal with CPD really? Well, think of it as the formal system that stops a professional's skills from getting outdated. And the key word here, the one I want you to remember, is systematic. This isn't just, reading an article here and there. It's a structured, lifelong commitment. It is a pillar of what it means to be part of a self-regulating profession. And this slide, this gets right to the point. In our profession, almost everything comes back to one single paramount duty: protecting the public. That's it. So CPD is the tool, the mechanism that the regulatory bodies use to make sure that a licensed professional stays competent and trustworthy from the day they get that license all the way to the day they retire. So the link to remember is simple. CPD equals public safety. Okay, now that we have that core principle of public protection locked in our minds, let's take another look at the options and find the one that just hits the bullseye. And the correct answer here is B. It's B because it just perfectly captures the full scope of CPD as a tool for making sure we all stay competent. So why is B the clear winner here? Well, it's because it's so comprehensive. Look at it. It doesn't just talk about the technical side of things, like new standards or technologies. It also includes those crucial professional aspects, our legal requirements, and our ethical duties. It's really the only option that covers all the bases, which, as we know, directly supports the regulatory body's main job: to protect the public. All right, now for what I think is maybe the most valuable part of this whole exercise: understanding why the wrong answers are wrong. The NPP is famous for its distractors, those options that sound kind of plausible, but are totally designed to catch you off guard. Learning to spot these traps is a critical skill for this exam. Let's break these traps down. Option A. I like to call this the cynical trap. It tries to frame CPD as just some kind of money-making scheme. And yeah, sure, there are costs involved, but the purpose is always competence, never revenue. It's a classic misdirection. Then you have C, the secondary benefit trap. Does a competent profession build public trust? Absolutely. But that's a positive side effect, not the primary goal. The goal is always public protection, not public relations. And finally, option D is just the factual error trap. It's plain wrong. CPD is mandatory for license renewal in most of Canada, period. Okay, let's lock in everything we've learned. This is where we boil it all down into key terms and a repeatable strategy that you can use on any question that looks like this one. First things first, let's get the vocabulary down. A regulatory body is that official association, like PEO or APICA, that governs the profession in your province or territory. Licensure, that's the actual legal right to practice engineering. And ethical obligations are all those specific duties laid out in your code of ethics. Honestly, knowing these terms inside and out is totally non-negotiable. And here it is, the method you can take with you. For any question, just follow these 3 steps. 1. Identify the core principle being tested. 2. Analyze each option against that core principle. Don't just compare the options to each other. And 3. For every wrong answer, name the trap. Is it a cynical view, a secondary benefit? Is it just a factual error? This simple process transforms you from just a passive test taker into an active analyst. So let's end on this thought. The license is not the end of your education, but the beginning of your professional obligation to it. Think about that. Your license isn't a finish line. It's the starting block. It marks the moment you formally accept a lifelong responsibility to stay competent in service to the public. And that right there is the true spirit of continuing professional development.